This is a Momentum Media production.
Welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show, the podcast by investors for investors.
Good day, how you going? Phil Tarrant, host of this Smart Property Investment Show. I hope you're well. Into my favourite type of show on property, and that is talking to property investors. I'm very fortunate that we, as a media platform, pretty well engaged right across the spectrum of property, from data companies and the engine behind a lot of purchases, which is buyers agents and real estate agents and property managers, the sort of collective property professional. And I think it's funny, 1 in 8 Australians can claim that they generate their work income out of property. It's a big sector for Australia and will continue to be moving forward. But a big part of the whole property ecosystem is property investor. And you will see it as we come up to this mini budget, which is going to be handed down a little bit later on in October. The Labor government, their first budget, it's a bit of an interim before they get together when they usually do their budget stuff in May. We should see some insights there around housing affordability and how they're going to approach the supply side of property, which is a big issue, to try and keep property accessible and available for most Australians. I think there's an appreciation right now that everyone can be a property owner, whether it's a house to live in or a property investor, but there will be a focus moving forward, and investors, particularly around this whole question of the lack of housing at the moment and social housing. And I think it's often overlooked the very important role that property investors play in that equation. The government many years ago decided to change the way up. It was going to make affordable housing and housing for and quasi sort of social orientated means, and property investors play a pretty critical role. I know a lot of the properties inside the Smart Property Investment Show inhabited by people who require that particular type of asset, and they're great tenants, and long shall they continue to be that way. And don't overlook and don't overthink sometimes a very important role that property investors play in supporting Australians in houses. I think most investors will say we need more supply because there's more houses that need created. But this will be a theme for us to chat through moving forward. And we'll look to get some people in from the government to have a yarn about how they're going to approach this thing moving forward. But investor stories is where I like to take this show. And again, we're fortunate to have a whole wide range of investors coming onto the Smart Property Investors Show. One of those, Adam, he joins me in the studio today. I want to chat through his property journey, where's he going, what he's doing, how he's doing, challenges and opportunities around finance and all in between. Adam, how you going? You well?
Good, Phil. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. So first time podcast attendee, long time listener, I hear.
100%, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did you find the Smart Property Investment Show originally?
I was on Google and I was just looking at podcasts to listen to, and then I went onto YouTube, and then it's one of those things, you're talking about things and it pops up in a feed, and I started listening to it, and I was hooked straight away. And I listened to it, pretty much when I'm driving to work every morning.
Mm.
And I look forward to them coming out every week, and just yeah.
That's good. We'll try our best. Thanks for it. What sort of work do you do, Adam?
I work for an electrical wholesaler in Western Sydney. I'm a sales manager there.
Okay.
So got a big team there, and always busy.
Yeah, mate. Good time to be in electrical wholesaling, and particularly, no doubt you probably have the same sort of challenges, supply chain constraints with getting materials and getting them out to builders. Is it mainly sort of civil, or is it mainly more commercial stuff or resi stuff you guys sell?
We do a lot of residential and a lot of commercial, industrial, and we have the challenges with getting products into. Obviously, a lot of stuff's imported these days.
Yeah,
so we have that challenge. It's sitting on a boat, or if it's sitting on a dock somewhere. So quite challenging.
Yeah, and is demand for materials as high as ever?
Yes, it's definitely. There's peaks and troughs in our business as in all businesses, but there's definitely a demand there.
Yeah, and I think you're probably in a pretty good sector, to be honest with you. Going back to my point around the sort of the government of the day, that at a federal level, some pretty significant stuff needs to happen to shift us into building, and even at the state government level, how they can get DAs through quicker to stimulate building activity, to make more housing available. And there's a housing crisis, rents are going up rapidly. There's this whole new generation of homeless Australians who have good jobs, but they just can't find themselves. So you guys are part of that equation as well, making sure that people can turn the lights on and the stoves in the ovens work. But there's a show about property investing. How long have you been investing for, Adam?
5 years now. 5
Okay.
years. Yeah.
And what was the sort of catalyst for you to get into property investing?
To be honest, I wanted to buy something in a super fund. I sort of see over the years, managing my super fund and watching it go up and down and just thinking to myself, why does it go up and down for? Why can I be down $10,000 one month and then up? And I sort of thought, I want a little bit more control. So I reached out to a financial advisor that I was recommended from a good friend of mine and said, look, I want to set up a self-managed super fund. And he said, okay, well, what's your reasoning? I said, well, I want to buy a house. So we went through the process. It was quite a process, if I'm honest. At the same time, while I'm talking to the broker said, Adam, you've got some real equity in your house. Have you ever thought about buying a house outside your super? And I was like, not really, but, and then one thing led to another. And next thing you know, I was buying 2 houses at once.
Okay.
Which was never done it before, never used a buyer's agent, never used brokers. I was always use the banks. And I ended up buying 2 properties pretty much straight away. I bought one in Brisbane and I bought a townhouse off the plan in Caloundra in the Sunshine Coast.
Okay. Which one did you buy inside the super fund?
The one in Brisbane.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And a townhouse in Caloundra.
Yeah, in Caloundra.
Do you do that yourself or do you use a buyer's agent for that?
I used the buyer's agent that helped me buy the one in Brisbane.
Okay.
Now, when I say help me buy, I was using them, but I think I was probably getting used more than anything. I was new, I was naive, I was very impulsive by nature. Brought the 2 together. And if I'd done it again, in hindsight, the both properties have gone up heaps in value, but the way I did it was probably a little bit, I wouldn't do it again that way.
Yeah. And look, at least you've done something, right? And a bit of scar tissue can be a real enabler for supporting change and better decision-making moving forward. And it sounds as though you're on that pathway right now. So just to give me a sense, so outside of your principal place of residence, property inside your super fund, this other property that you bought, is that the extent of your portfolio? Or is there more in there?
No, I have one more. I've recently just settled probably 2 months ago.
Okay, where's that?
In Western Australia.
Okay, WA, whereabouts?
Something called High Waikato, which is just next to the airport there. In Perth. So I just bought that.
Okay. What does that look like? What is it?
931 squares, 1960s house. The idea there is I'm going to build 2 houses on that. Probably not this year, but in the years to come. But it's rented out straight away. We bought that for $500,000. That same property sold 8 years ago for $500,000.
Yeah, mate, Perth is mad in that people have had to hold on to those assets for a decade largely for them to still be worth the same amount of money. You sit there and go, how does that happen when you talk about sort of, your super fund, your retail fund or your industry fund sort of going up and down in value. You think about those people that bought those houses a decade ago and they're only back to where they were. That's a long time to be holding an asset that's underperforming.
Yes.
Yeah. So is that the extent? Is that it for you guys?
That's it. For the moment, that's what I've got. I've got some plans for another purchase in the upcoming future and also to switch our thinking to commercial, to get down the commercial route.
Yeah.
So,
And your job sort of is growing. You said you're a manager. No doubt there's capacity to earn more dough over time and it's a stable and secure job. How long have you been at the same?
I've been with that business for 22 years now.
Okay. So you pretty much, a lot of your working life was there?
Pretty much. I started when I was 20 and I went from storeman to sort of store supervisor and through purchasing roles and manager. Now I'm a sales manager at like I said, a big branch in Western Sydney.
Yeah. And
it's going really well and I enjoy it. I'm very career focused, but on the same pretext, I want a property portfolio. I want a legacy. Yeah.
No, I guess I was going to ask you why you're doing this. It's, I guess, an enabler for your own wealth creation, but something that you can sort of start creating generational wealth.
100%. That's the goal from the start, generational wealth. Something that can be left and passed on, and I guess to keep growing, educate our children and keep it growing.
Yeah. What about at work around the lunchroom? Do you talk about property with the guys and girls?
I've got to be honest. I do. I do talk a lot about it, and I'm talking to all my guys, my customers, my suppliers, everyone. I have a passion for that. I have a passion for work. I have a passion for a passion for life and a passion for property, and I'm always talking about it. And I'm always saying to the guys, go see this guy. He can help you with your finances and you should get into property. And through that, I've actually had one of my staff members actually go to the same buyer's agent to actually buy a property.
So that's good. It's funny how it works, and I could just detect, Adam, that you I can imagine you sort of, when the roach coach pulls up and everyone's standing around having a coffee, you'd be sort of talking about property and
100%,
trying to educate the new generation. And you see it. It's really interesting how it works. how you'll get this sort of positive center of influence within an organization. It happens a lot in terms of the cops as well. You see it, even the military, where someone will get it and then they'll be quite evangelical around it, around their peer group, and then you see them all using the same professionals, and it's like becomes this sort of little subculture inside of organizations with everyone's talking about it when they're not talking about work. It's pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah, it's that's principal place of residence. Where is your principal place of residence out near your work? Is that where
it's probably 20 minutes from where I work.
And 3 investment properties. So it's a good sort of foundation. And I would imagine someone looked at, how long have you had your principal place of residence for?
So I've been there since 2012.
Okay, so you've had a decade of equity building, 2 cycles through there. So no doubt there was a fair bit in there.
Yeah.
Principal place of residence and 3 properties is a really sort of foundational portfolio. I want to chat about sort of finance around it. We'll just go to a break. Stay with us, everyone. Back in a moment. Welcome back. Phil Tarrant, host of the Smart Property Investment Show. Having a chat with Adam, investor who has caught the property bug, I reckon, and you can see it. And a passion for helping to educate other people. And it's very much one of the reasons why we do this particular podcast. And I imagine while Adam's been listening to it is that how to democratize a lot of these ideas around property investing. Most people think it's this secret little world where only the wealthy can get wealthier. It's actually a lot easier than that. And one of the reasons why we do this podcast is to try and educate and inform and help people along their way. Do you listen to any other podcasts, Adam, or is it just this one?
I do. Like when they come up in a suggestion on YouTube, and I sort of, I do listen to them a little bit, but then sometimes it's a lot of people that talk about themselves, It's not investor to investor. It's probably more like someone hosting a show saying, I've done this, I've done that. And it's not really what I'm after. It's not education, And what I like about this one is it's a broad range of investors, You've got investors from 1 or 2 to 3 or 4 like myself, and then you've got investors that have gone down the road of commercial.
I know property investors, and it's hard to get them to talk about it. They own like 70 and 80 investment properties, right? Like it's a business in its own right. And but they've still got the same passion as you do, Adam. Like they've got a real spring to their step around property, and they absolutely love it. Any feedback for me? What else? What more would you like from us, mate?
Mate, I'll be honest. I don't know. I like the variety of the property investing spectrum. To be honest, I don't want to say that it's perfect, but I don't know how I'd improve it.
Okay, well, I'm always professionally looking to improve, like most property investors. So, maybe if you send me an email through, if it's you probably don't want to say it on air, but anyway. So property inside your super, 2 properties outside of super, and your principal place of residence.
Yeah.
What's been your finance journey? And the key thing right now is finance is always important when it comes to property investment. It's becoming even more important in this particular rising rate environment. For many investors, they haven't been in the rising rate environment. They've only seen rates come back rather than go up. And there's a challenge, and a lot of people are rattled to the core on whether or not they've been able to borrow into the future or even maintain their current portfolio. The good thing is the way banks lend money is that they do put a buffer in there. And that buffer is now very much connected in with it. A lot of investors are getting tapped out because serviceability is getting a lot tighter because of increasing rates. That's just the way the system works. Adam, have you used both direct to bank and mortgage brokers?
I have used multiple banks, multiple brokers. I pretty much got to a point with the brokers where I was ready to give up and went back to a bank. I actually went back and refinanced to a bank because I've been mucked around so much. And same thing, I found some of these brokers were supposed to be some of the best in Australia. And it was just it was a constant nightmare. What
happened for you to go back from, for our listeners, like mortgage brokers now write, depending on the month, sort of 65 to 70% of all mortgages in Australia. So for you to go back to a bank direct, the broker must have done a very good job.
Just no contact. Like I get that everyone's busy, and I'm the same. I'm in sales. I'm busy all the time, and I get communication by email, and I appreciate and respect that. But like not getting back to you at all. Point blank, just leaving up in the air. And I tried that with 3 or 4 different brokers, and it just got to the point where I was like, this is so hard. Like, I'm super organized. I'll have everything ready to go all the time. And I just thought, this is just too hard. And I actually went back to a bank, and then, that was, I just, when I got to my journey, I guess December, just, last year, I was like looking around and I came across Spinny Mortgages. And there was an association there with a buyer's agent, and I thought, I'll give these guys a call, and they've been flawless from day one. from
So
day
you're back in the bosom of the mortgage broker, which is good. It's nice to see. I don't want to see Australian investors going direct to the banks. They should be using mortgage brokers. Mortgage brokers should be able to provide a much better outcome, I believe, in terms of giving choice. If you just go to a bank, you're only going to be able to get access to the products that they have, whereas a mortgage broker can give you access to many products. But it's interesting, Adam, that you went back to the banks. Was the bank experience a good one?
When I went back to the bank the last time, I was like, I hadn't dealt with a real broker. When I say a real broker, someone actually took the time to listen and care. So I sort of went back to the bank and I said, I want to refinance all these loans. I said, look, I want to take out X amount of dollars in, say, 6 months' time, which is, if you go backtrack about 6 months. And like, yeah, no worries. So I refinanced a bit, no problems. And then when it came time to get some money out, I was like, they're like, we can't, because of this and that and whatever. And I sort of got mucked around a little bit. And that was when I came across Feeding Mortgages. And I gave them a call and spoke to Paul Blossom, and put me onto one of his senior brokers and went from there. And from there, it was it was just too easy. And
they're a good crew over there. I know them pretty well. Finny Mortgages, finny.com.au. The thing is, Adam, listening to your experience, and I sort of frame it in terms of myself as a property investor, you would be a lot easier to get a home loan for than I would be to get a home loan for. And that being, you've been at the current job for 20 years, obviously extremely stable employment. You probably make a good buck, a good wedge of coin as well. Your PAYG, you can provide pay slips. It sounds like you're super organized. Largely, you should be very vanilla, inverted commas, as a borrower in order to secure finance, but it still sounds like it's a struggle.
It is a struggle, obviously. Right. The struggle we're finding at the moment, especially with interest rates going up, we're struggling to sort of meet that serviceability. Our serviceability has sort of changed in the last 6 months, as most people have. So for us, it's a matter of getting more cash together, and I guess the right conditions to go again. I'm not one to sit on the fence. If I get the money now, I'll be off to the races.
Yeah, are you doing sort of a portfolio review now? I don't know what your interest rates are like. Are you looking to refinance or calibrate them so they're more competitive?
Well, I've currently just refinanced all with Finny now, so I have.
Oh, you did that. So you've refinanced a lot recently.
The whole lot. I've done my super refinance. I've done everything. So I've got five mortgages with Finny now. All that Finny refinance, sorry.
Yeah.
And especially the SMF side of it was an eye opener.
Oh, and anyone that's tuning into this that has residential property inside of their super fund, like, go and speak to your mortgage broker. The team over at Finny will have a chat with you, no worries. But I had a chat with mine, and he told me what rate he was paying inside of his mortgage in his super fund. I went, mate, things have changed over the last couple of years. They were really high a couple of years ago. They've really come back. Look, they've gone up again, but comparative to how SMSF lending was, it was a good sort of 1.5%. He was able to shave maybe 2% off his interest rate inside of his SMSF. Did you get sort of similar outcome, Adam?
Yeah, well, prior to refinancing with Finny and prior to all these rate rises, my SMF rate was well over, I think it was 6%, just over 6%.
Yeah.
At the time when I refinanced, it's 3.99 SMF. Now, obviously that's come up with the rates, but if my starting point would have been 6 and I was still with that same bank, I'd be probably close to 9 or 10% now.
So you pretty much shaved 2% off your SMSF. That can turn a SMSF purchase from an investment from a negative to a positive position, where it's actually adding to your super fund rather than taking money out of your contributions to it. So you refinanced all in one go, which can be a bit more of a challenge because it requires more information. But would you recommend doing everything at once rather than just doing it in bits and bobs?
I would, and purely for the reason, if you've got the right broker and someone that's going to take the time, it makes the process a lot easier. Like five mortgages, 10 mortgages, 20 mortgages. Yeah, it's going to be more work for the broker, but at the end of the day, it makes it streamlined and it makes it easier for, I guess, yourself as the investor. And yeah, it was a great process. And I'm always talking to my broker once a week, once a fortnight. I'm always trying to, I guess, red line, so to speak. I'm always trying to get more money. What can I do? So I'm always looking for, I guess, advice around that. But yeah, if I was going to do it, I would do it all at once. Again, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and it can be painful. I'm going through a process. I'm actually using Finny on refinancing part of the smart property investment portfolio, which I'll do an an update on. Surely it's a lot more painful doing it all at the same time, but at least you get the immediacy of the outcome, and you only have to do the work once. So there is value in it. What did you do with the refinance? Did you reset your interest-only stuff, or you went P&I? What sort of products did you choose? Which banks?
So with my principal price of residence, I left that as
P&I.
P&I, sorry. Then I have all my, obviously the SMF loan is principal and interest inside it's principal, and the rest of my loans are interest only.
And all with the same lender or different lenders?
All the same lender, yes.
Okay.
All the same lender, yes.
Which
I was actually surprised. We used First Mac.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's cool. And what sort of rates were you able to secure? If you don't mind sharing them. I guess it's probably changed now, but...
100%. So at the time of financing for the SMF, like I said, I was on close to 6%, or a bit over 6%. That was at 3.99. So that's obviously changed.
Yeah. Add 2 and 2.5, 2.6% to that, right?
100%. 100%. Yeah. So that's close to 6% now. So the starting point would have been 6 then, like I said. And with the other rates, they were low. There might have been high 2s, maybe low 3s.
Yeah.
And by the time everything went through with the finance, this is when the rates started to shift. So, definitely well worth it. And
the lenders passed on every single interest rate rise?
100%.
Yeah, no more, no less.
No more, no less. Exactly right. So, it's just the way, I guess, we ride as investors, rates go up, rates come down, rates come down.
Yeah. Well, the question is that when will rates stabilise, and when will they start coming down? And there's always this big debate. The banks are happy to sort of ratchet them up really quickly, but they're sometimes slow to come down. So we'll see what happens. But who knows when that sort of cycle will take place. I'm quite keen on how you manage your assets, Adam. We'll just go to another break. We'll chat through that when we come back in a moment. Welcome back. Phil Tarrant from the Smart Property Investment Show, having a chat with property investor Adam. Adam, I imagine 3 investment properties, so 2 in Queensland. Is that correct?
Yes.
3 in Queensland.
No, 2 in Queensland, 1 in Western Australia.
One in Western Australia, sorry. You must use a property manager to manage all this stuff?
I have 3 separate property managers, and that's purely based on location. So I have, 1 in Brisbane, 1 in Caloundra, and 1 in Perth. I'm in contact with these guys once a fortnight, once a month, definitely once a month. I'm always talking to them. And I'm always wanting to know what the area is doing, how are the rents. I don't sort of just let it sit on the sideline and just hope for the best. I'm always wanting to know what's going on. We've actually got a rent review for the one in the Sunshine Coast now, and that's actually going up like $45 a week, which is really good.
And so you really dialed in for when leases expire, so you can push up rents if required, or if you're able to.
Yeah, I look at I use Property Me and Property Tree for the 3 properties, and I look at that daily. Same as I look at the banks daily. I'm looking at everything daily. I'll talk to my property managers, weekly, monthly sort of thing.
Do they take your phone calls? Or they go, this guy?
They do actually do. At first it was a little bit hard because it's like, they don't know. But then I said, look, guys, I'm really keen. I want to buy properties. I want to do this. And, I never muck around. If they send something through that needs work on the property or they need something done, I don't muck around. So I always want to be that person that you're going to take my phone call because you know that I'm serious. And I try to keep it short and sweet. I'm not going to ring up and hassle anyone.
Yeah, and that's the right mentality around it. I reckon I'm completely the opposite. I'd probably go through cycles of being super engaged and connected versus not engaged and connected, and I'm probably in that sort of not engaged and connected at the moment. My property managers hate me at the moment because they try and get a hold of me to get stuff done, and I don't get back to them, and they've got to chase me. But then when it's on the other side where I'm going, well, my rents are too low, fix it up. And they're going, well, yeah, we emailed you 4 times and you didn't get back to us. So it sounds like you're a lot more proactive. How do you sort of keep all your information together? How do you sort of steer yourself, and what's your admin like, Adam?
My admin is top notch. I have a folder for all my properties, and everything that comes through I print off and I put in a folder. On top of that, like I said, I'm always on the Property Me and Property Tree. And a lot of it, like night, I do it every night. I'll be going through all my properties. And
do you do it nightly? Do you?
Nightly, I do. I look at Property Me and Property Tree in my banks every single day without fail.
Well, and have a look, make sure the rent's arrived, and
make sure the rent's arrived. Just like when you're managing include probably living 4 properties. Your money coming in, money going out. You want to make sure that you've got your buffers in place and there is money there for when you need it. On the same pretext, I'm always talking to my accountant as well, and make sure I'm up to date with everything. And he was talking about tax rules and coming in, and I think it's for me.
You're a much better property investor than I am, Adam. I wish I was that organised. I sort of blame bandwidth problems, so I just go, that'll be right. I'll fix it up later. And I'm like the plumber whose taps leak, right?
That's right.
I'm probably that guy, but you will be. The fact that you're so dialed in, connected with it, means that you will. You'll have a greater mechanism for control moving forward, so you can be reactive and responsive. Are you talking about redlining it beforehand? And to that,
yes.
Listeners, he's probably talking about sitting at the sort of top end maybe of the risk profile because he's active and engaged right now. To do that and do it effectively, you've got to be completely dialed in with your own circumstances, your own balance sheet, any given day.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. No. Well, I think a lot of people can learn a lot from that. So, what about sort of savings and stuff? Have you're building up sort of cash somewhere in an offset, getting ready for the next purchase, or will it be to refinance what you got?
Pretty much. So we have an account. We have an account that offsets our main home loan that we live in, and all my rents go in there as on top of money that we're saving. So that's, I guess, our piggy bank.
So you offset your principal place of residence, not
yes.
your investment properties. Okay,
yes.
and no doubt you've had some tax advice around that, saying, well,
of course.
Yeah.
The investment property is tax deductible. The place I live in is not.
Yeah.
So, if you had the option, to me, it doesn't make sense to try and reduce interest because I can claim it against my income where the house I live in I can't.
Yeah. And, we sort of washed over that really quickly, but it's really smart. If you are a property investor, you have a principal place of residence and you also have investment properties. Largely, depending though, you need to get good advice from an accountant. You want to be offsetting the non-deductible debt, and that's normally inside of your home loan. So if you've got a P&I mortgage inside of your principal place of residence, if you're offsetting it at 100%, means you're not paying an interest on it, and you can drive down the principal. It's a great, really smart strategy for paying off your principal place of residence home loan sooner while still getting the benefits, the taxation benefits inside of your portfolio. And some really good calculators out there that you can use to show you that the graph of by pumping money into your principal place of residence, how much you can save in interest rates over the years and bring the sort of full ownership of your principal place of residence sooner. Adam, so what's next, mate? Have you got a pre-approval for the next buy, or are you working through that now?
We're actually working just to get some equity release from our house, and I really want to go down the commercial road. I've had conversations with Paul Glossop at Pure Property regarding this. And that's somewhere I see, for me, the residential is very important, and I've still got more residential properties to buy. But I want to, expand my repertoire of properties, and go to the commercial route.
Well, commercial, if I had my time again, I would have started buying commercial property earlier than what I did, but it's all okay. It's a good way to diversify out your asset base, but mate, sounds like you're doing everything right, Adam.
I'm trying. I am. Yeah, I'm trying to run it as a business.
Yeah. Well, it is a business, and
for
a lot of people, because I'm essentially self-employed, for a lot of people that work inside of a PAYG, which is a really nice, safe environment of employment, and you get a sort of guaranteed paycheck. I see a lot of people who work in that capacity. They really enjoy the idea of investing in property because it allows them to be essentially self-employed. It gives them a sort of bit of a side hustle, I guess you'd call it, where you can, act and behave and operate like you are a business owner by building out a portfolio, and that's the way you need to be viewing it. So you get the best of both worlds. Your principal place of residence sounds like it's a gift that keeps giving, Adam. What's your comfort level in refinancing that? To what LVR?
And some people may disagree with this, but I have no fear of LMI. I see what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build my property up, and I have no problems taking out a loan at LMI at LVR of 90%, then 95%. To me, I'll always make sure I've got enough cash in the bank to cover anything. And I see, I guess, if you were put off by that, could almost be a stumbling block. You know what I mean? If the deal's good enough and the numbers stack up, and I know I've got a positive feeling that's going to work, then I'm not scared of LMI.
Yeah, LMI, lender's mortgage insurance. So this is the insurance policy that the lender takes out against the borrower, just in case they can't repay the debt. A lot of people see it as over time I've seen it as the boogeyman of property investing, where it's an unnecessary cost to get into property. And I know the government's trying to work stuff out, so first home buyers can get an easy pathway into property without LMI. But for property investors, one of the great things about LMI is it can be capitalised into the loan. So you don't have to pay that insurance policy up front. You pay it off over time in lockstep with the actual debt, which can be a great way to get into a property sooner. Now, people argue that, saying, well, if that allows you to get into a property 2 years beforehand in an upwards market, that means you're going to get 2 years of upwards growth. The inverse applies. If you buy at the top of the market and it comes back, you may find yourself in negative equity. But that's a nice way to go. So in terms of LVR on your principal place of residence, will you go up over 80% on it, or you always keep at least 20% in there?
No, I go up over 80%. Like I said, to me, I'm not worried by that. And, the LMI, again, is tax deductible. So for me, I look at that as another tool I guess I can use, instead of saying, you've got to pay lender's mortgage insurance. I go, okay, hang on a sec, this is a tool that I can use to get further ahead. So for me, I don't have a problem going over 80 at all.
How much longer are you going to work for, Adam?
I think at least 15 years.
Okay.
15 years.
So you got a lot of time on your side. You sound like you're sort of early-ish 40s.
43.
43. You've got, a number of growth cycles still in you while you have that safe and solid employment. Have you taken your long service leave?
Some of it, yeah. Some of it, yeah.
You can't cash it out, can you?
No, I wish. I wish. But no, you can't. Definitely can't. So, but now, we just keep piling the rent up and I guess saving the money and like I said, I'm talking to the brokers all the time. So I'm not like, I'll see how we go in a few years' time. I'm like trying to, I guess, push you on by all the time.
Yeah. Well, mate, let us know next time. It sounds like you're going to sort of crack in a commercial. Let's get you back in and have a chat with us. It sounds as though it's been a really good journey so far. A couple of little sort of stumbles along the way. You found yourself a really good broker now, and I'm happy that you found a good broker, because I've been championing brokers for years, and Fitty Mortgage is a good outfit. I believe in it. That's why I invested in that particular business. But brokers can be a huge enabler for investors. So get stuck in, Adam, and I look forward to catching up again at some point soon.
Thank you very much for your time, Phil.
Nice one. I hope you enjoyed that, everyone. Great investor stories. Come and have a chat with us. Whether you use a bank or not, a broker, whether you're investing in commercial or resi, whether you've got one property, you've got 100 properties, it'd be great for you to come and have a chat with us. You can email the team here, editor@smartpropertyinvestment.com.au, and get it all arranged. Good fun. It's easy, isn't it, Adam, being a guest on the show?
It is. Very easy.
Well, there you go.
Very easy. Good
feedback there for someone who's organised. Remember, check out smartpropertyinvestment.com.au, social media, Smart Property HQ. You can like us, follow us there, and make sure you're informed any given day on what's happening in property. We'll see you again next time. Until then, bye-bye.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs, and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.
Would you like the latest news and insights in HR, leadership and people management? HR Leader has you covered. Subscribe at hrleader.com.au.